Hi, my name is Will Nunziata, and I'm a New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film, and I'm also proud Phoenix Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with a dear friend of mine. He is a world-renowned entertainer whose 40-year career has taken him to the top of the charts, to concert halls across the country and around the world, to television, to cementing his legacy as a Las Vegas institution. His name, Clint Holmes. For more on Clint, you can read more about him right below this video. But in the meantime, here is just a sneak peek at the amazing talent of Clint Holmes.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I am not the only one. Don't stop this train. Don't for a minute change the place. I made that man so happy when I wrote a letter once. I hope my children come and visit once or twice a month. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Well, I think the world is cold. Or will I have a lot of children that'll warm me? Soon I'll be 60 years old. Let me tell you, we're dead through the night, and we held each other's hand. And before too long, I fell in love with her. Somebody tell me why would I, how could I dance with another when I saw her stand there? Sundays at 3, that's where I'd be. Me and my dad, best times we had. Nothing could top learning bebop at the rendezvous. Me and my dad down at the rendezvous. Come on, guys.
Well, hello, Clint. How are you, my friend?
Will, it is so good to see you. I was trying to think of how long it's been. It's been too long.
It's been too long, too long. Well, the audience has got a little sneak peek of your incredible talent, which we are going to dive into. But first and foremost, on a personal note, I miss you, my friend. We had the great opportunity to collaborate on an original musical through the lyrics of and the music of Charles Aznavour, in which you were my leading man. I built it around you, and boy, was that fun.
Boy, was it! And we saw Notting Hill the other night, the movie, and the boom, the opening scene, you hear "She may be the face that," and that was the first song in our piece, and it just brought me right back to it. That was great.
Well, obviously, before Charles Aznavour's passing, we got his blessing, and I got to become very close with him. But I have a good feeling that hopefully it's going to move forward somehow. But let's get back to you, Mr. Holmes. You are an institution in this music industry. I want to start, though, from the beginning. Way before your big break in 1972 with Playground in My Mind, which I'll be playing a little bit of right now. I want to go back to little Clint and where he grew up and when and how his dreams began.
Well, my dreams really started with my parents' dreams. My mom was, as you know, a white British opera singer. My dad was a black American jazz singer. Met in World War II. Took the chance and came to America as a interracial couple when it was not accepted, and ended up kind of being isolated in a small town in upstate New York near Buffalo, which is where my sister and I grew up. But the part of me that started there was the fact that what my family had was music. I say this, we never had any money, but we always had music, I mean, every singer, dancer that was ever on television was a big event for our family. So that, people, it was never a decision. It's just what it was and what it is, and I'm just lucky enough to have sustained a career as a singer. So I started the March of the Wooden Soldiers when I was 5 years old in a little red satin suit and tap shoes. just like we all did, right?
Yeah, right. Just like we all did. But I love that, Clint. And, I love your story. And again, I want people to read more about you, not only below this video, but all throughout the internet and anywhere you can get your hands on Clint's music and his story. It is fascinating, uplifting, and inspiring. And I want to go and jump a little bit now toward 1972's Playground in My Mind and how that all came about for you.
Okay, so I was in the United States Army Chorus, singing in Washington, D.C. in the early 70s. And I got out of the Army and started my career. And I was performing in the Bahamas. I believe it may have been my first job outside of Washington, D.C., where I lived. And I was in the Bahamas, did a show. There were no dressing rooms. There was, you jumped off stage and you went to the men's room to wash your face because you were sweating. And one night a guy walks up to me in the men's room and says, I have a song for you. I produced Johnny Mathis. I wrote this, I wrote that. And of course, I'm washing my face going, oh, that's great. And we made a deal. When I finished in the Bahamas, I went to New York and met with him. And he played, My Name is Michael, I Got a Nickel. And he said, I think it's a hit record. And I said, it sounds like a kid's song. And he said, I think it's a hit record. And we made the record and it was released. And it's actually a pretty historical record because it took from the time it was released in 1972 till the time it went top 10 was over a year. The record came and it thought it went. We all thought, well, it didn't work. And then all of a sudden, around Christmas time, some stations in the Midwest started to play it because they thought it sounded kind of like a Christmas song. And by July of the next year, it was top 10. So it was a miracle record, but it did open up. I had this conversation with a friend of mine who called me a one-hit wonder, ha ha ha.
Yeah,
And
right. But Mr. Clint, I'm going to argue that because not only are you not a one-hit wonder, talk about a full circle moment. I mean, you are the epitome of show business in that, yes, you can have your ebb and your flows. You can be hot and then you're not, but you have always worked. So much so, let's talk about your most recent album that came out that you were a Grammy nominated for, Rendezvous.
Yeah.
How was that call to that person that said you were just a one-hit wonder? Okay?
Oh, let me tell you something. He's a friend. And my wife, when we were having this guy, Kelly said, give me the phone. Said, do not. So, she gave him what for. He was semi-joking, but yeah, that record, Rendezvous, we recorded it in 2019. 2019 it came out, and we got 2 Grammy nominations. And I've done a lot of things in my career. I've been very fortunate. I had my own TV series. I worked at Entertainment Tonight. I worked with Joan Rivers. I won a bunch of awards here in Las Vegas, and I've won awards in New York. But I don't think that in a way Grammy Award was on my radar. I think I had thought, well, that's, one thing that I probably will never get. And
well, it's almost interesting, right? It's almost like you let go of it and then the universe was like, okay, now's the time.
Universe is an interesting source. Well, you know as very well that one of my dreams is New York, Broadway, off-Broadway, either one or both. And I just keep chugging along through all of the other things that I'm doing. I just keep pushing that dream forward.
Well, Clint, at the end of the day, you're a storyteller. And we got to talk a lot about this while we were working on the Aznavour piece, because for me as conceiver director, you were the vessel of, for me, what was a rhapsody. It was a piece that was a rhapsody in a constant stream of the sub and unconscious of a man and these women in his life. And anyone that's been able to witness you live and in person more than anything, Clint, is that you create playlists. You create what some people think is a 3-minute, 8-second song. You create a 5-act play. Why? Because you are a vessel and you are an unapologetic craftsman. And you constantly have been working on your craft. People don't know this about you. They look at Mr. Clint Holmes, award-winning Las Vegas Institute, show business legend, Every time in New York, when I'm trying to get in touch with you, Will, sorry, I'm in an acting class. Will, sorry, I'm in a voice lesson. Will, yes, you have time for me, but you are constantly working on your craft. And I want all the young artists to be listening to this right now, who want this quick fame, quick clickbait, Longevity is about craft.
We artists, and you are an artist because you do a lot of things. So I'm separating right now your singing career from the rest of your career, okay? Which is as a director and a writer and a conceiver and all those things. We artists who sing need people like you to inspire us to push ourselves. If we sit back and go, well, okay, I know how to do my nightclub act, it'll be okay. But I've had people like you and people like Larry Moss and other people, including my wife, who keep giving me inspiration to keep moving forward and trying new things. Right now, I'm in a cycle of trying new songs, finding the Billie Eilishes and the Phineases of the world, and finding their music that fits. Me as a human being, and putting it in my show, and it's so much fun. And so, yeah, growing is what keeps you. This, like I'm making this up. Growing is what keeps you going.
Great tagline. You should trademark that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, growing was what keeps you going. Because if you stop, I have friends who say, "Oh, I don't watch the Grammy Awards because there's this and I don't like it." And I go, "Okay, there's stuff that I don't get on the Grammys, but there's going to be gems."
I know. And you know what, Clint, and why I love you so much beyond so many things is that you are a man who always looks for the possibility. You are a man who looks for the sense of play and the opportunity. And it's harder sometimes to make that choice to look for the positive. And when I think of another artist whom I absolutely idolized, I did not get to know her, but someone whom you were her Ed McMahon to her Johnny Carson on her Late Show on Fox, was the late, great Joan Rivers. And I'm just curious, Clint, selfishly for me, but for the audience, do you have any fun anecdotes of how that came about, but also what you remember about working with Joan Rivers?
She was my aunt. She was so supportive. Long story short, I toured with her. I was her opening act for a considerable amount of time. And then she got the show on Fox. And I was with her in Atlantic City, and she was telling me about, well, we got our band and we got our band leader. So the only thing we don't have is our announcer. And she says, wait a minute, say my name like an announcer. And I go, Joan Rivers. So she said, okay. She flew me to LA. I sat in this, with sweat dripping down my face, in this little room with she and Edgar and two of the executives from Fox. And over again, okay, this time with maybe higher in your Joan Rivers. This time, make the Joan longer, Joan, over and over again. And went back to my hotel. Joan called me up and said, "Can you stay another day in LA?" And I said, "Of course." He said, "Because they have another person in mind, but I'm going to make them take you." I stayed another day. The next day, I went in, auditioned now with the headphones and the band playing and on the set, and I got the job. She could very easily have said, okay guys, whatever you want. She pushed and hung in there and got me that job, which is a part of what changed my life.
That's right. And also I believe it or not, I do remember that, even though I was so young, because my grandfather was on a competing network as David Letterman's announcer. My grandfather, Bill Wendell. I think it's just so amazing, Clint, that throughout your whole career in life, that even if it remotely seemed like it worked with you in what your North Star was in terms of entertaining and inspiring, you seem to always say yes to that. And I think, it's a testament.
Sometimes. Maybe too many yeses sometimes.
But you know what, Clint? Look, we all live and learn, right? And it's from, as you know, our mistakes or our failures where we learn the most. But I think about your show, the show about your life. And I want to deep dive into this a little bit with like the few minutes we have left, because this is going to be what's, I think it's going to bring you to Broadway. Because again, not only your talent, but your story that I think now more than ever is so freaking relatable.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that show that you're putting together and have been for a few years?
As I mentioned, my mom and dad, and so growing up as an interracial kid in the 50s and 60s, and trying to figure out where the heck I fit. That's the universal story. Where do I fit? There's so many versions of that. You know, my version is I lived in a little town where we were the only ones. There was no other family of color in this little town, so I didn't know any black people. My dad was the strong silent type. You know, he worked three jobs. He didn't really talk about it, so I didn't have the experience of being a black man in America until I went into the Army in the 70s. And then all of a sudden, boom, who are you? Are you one of us? Are you one of them? Right? And for me, it was really trying to figure out, well, what do I feel? What do I feel like? What do I want to be in a way? In a way, I had a chance to kind of choose my own path, which took a long time, which took me many years of am I being a phony if I do it this way? Am I you know? So the story of the play ultimately is, where do I fit? You know, it's where do I fit, told through the life of an entertainer in our business. Where do you fit when you're my record? My Name Is Michael was a novelty record.
That's right.
Right. I wanted to be in those days. I wanted to be Roberta Flack. That's where I thought
right.
I fit. You know, but my producers and so on and so forth, to whom I'm grateful, plug me in there. So there again, well, wait a minute, that's a black guy singing that? You know, so it was always that battle for me.
But what I love so much, Clint, is that through your journey of exploration, through your life, both professionally and personally, you've, I'm sure, come to realize when you look in the mirror at the end of the day, I am enough.
Yeah.
I am Clint, and he is enough.
That's right. And that's where it has to come to for all of us, you know, and that's the universality, you know, as well as anyone. Whatever we do has to have a universal message. The people who sit in the audience have to see a reflection of themselves or someone very close to them to be affected by it. So the universal message of my piece is, where do I fit? But it's told through the biracial son in the 50s of an opera singing white British mother and a black jazz singing father. So
see, I love that, Clint. And you mentioned universality, and it makes me think about Phoenix, this amazing, groundbreaking platform that I'm so happy that you're on board, going to be one of the artists of, because it's not only going to be able to connect artists with fans across the world, but also artists and future collaborations. You've traveled the world, my friend. You've seen it all. But just this, again, I love the fact that you're like a kid in a playground, in the sandbox, always wanting to learn more and play with new buddies. And so I'm excited for you to come on board for that reason. And that I'm so grateful, you know, for your time today. I could speak with you forever, but it's really good to see you, my friend.
My friend, it is it's my birthday this weekend, and I remember the last two birthdays. The last one, of course, we were all in our homes like this, and the one before that, you and I was alone in New York, and you and I had breakfast, and it's my memory of that birthday, was you and I having a good long breakfast and spending that time together, and it meant a lot to me. So happy birthday to me. Another birthday I get to spend with Will.
Oh, well, God bless you, Clint. I love you, my friend, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Soon. Okay. Thanks, man.
Bye.
In the digital age, artists and bands struggle to make a living. In fact, only a small number of artists can live off their craft. For the 98% of artists that don't have the luxury of being signed to a label, it's tough. But artists deserve to live off their art. Wherever you are around the world, appreciation of music does not change. Phoenix brings bands and their fans together, whilst allowing bands to properly monetize their passion. The Phoenix app will directly connect bands and fans with no need for middlemen. We're utilizing the blockchain to give the power back to the artists once and for all. Join Phoenix, join the change.